Hi everybody, this is Robin live from the Robin's Nest, and as you can see from my shirt, and as you can see by my keychain, and wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, there we go. You can tell by my iTunes, it is time for yet and still another Michael's moment. Okay, I really don't have any specific topic that I want to, share with you guys in this particular day. I just know that I wanted to say something because it's getting ready to be the anniversary of his death, the first year anniversary of his death, and my time sure does fly. Actually, it just feels more like time stands still. Time stood still, if you want to know the truth. At least for me, and for quite a few other fans out there, it does feel like time has stopped almost, just a little bit. So because of that, I was wondering, what is it about him that made him so special that I had to devote another segment on my show about this. And I feel as though the reason why I liked him so much, it wasn't just because of the singing and the dancing. I mean, the singing and the dancing was phenomenal. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that he was just an exceptional talent. But I think the reason why I identified with him so much was because of the way he carried himself and the way he spoke and just how he was in general. There was just something about him just so incredibly unique and so different. He wasn't like any African American man. You know what? Take that back. Not even African American. He just wasn't like any other man I had ever seen and heard of ever. And in my adult life, it was very unusual to find a guy who was soft-spoken, very demure, quiet, but had a strong, sexual side to him that was very hidden, but still there when it came out on stage. And the way he carried himself, like the way he thought about people and human beings and children and even a broad topic like sex, he was just so very unusual. I mean, this was a guy who was a grown man, but very much like a kid. And I totally identify with that. I mean, you look around my room and you would think that a teenager lives in this room. And it's not, it's a grown woman. When I heard him speak about people and about children and his love for them, I mean, that's something that you just don't hear that often. You don't really hear about people saying just how much they love humanity and how they especially do love children. So that's why when all this crap came out a few years ago about these horrible rumors about him being a child molester, I didn't believe it, because my thing is, as far as Michael is concerned, children is the last thing that he would ever hurt. He would never hurt a child because they were the only people who really understood him. Whereas adults came out wanting everything and, wanting to be a part of his world and reaping the benefits of it. All the children wanted was just to have fun. That's all they wanted. So that's why he could identify so much with kids so well. And I understand that because I identify better with children and young adults better than I do with people my own age. In fact, I feel like sometimes that with people who are my own age, they feel more like adults to me, and I still feel like a kid. And they see me as a kid. I don't know why that is, but that's just how it is. And then his thoughts and views on sexuality was so unique. Like getting back to children, his thing is he would hurt, if he had hurt anybody, he would hurt an adult before he hurt a child. That's just how he was. And I feel like the same way. You know, I wouldn't want to hurt anybody, but if I had to, it would be an adult before it would be a child. And then, of course, you know, everyone always said about, you know, how lonely his childhood was and all that kind of stuff. And in a lot of ways, I understand that myself, because I, too, had a very lonely childhood in a way. It's not that I wasn't, like, abused or anything like that. I never had anything like that happen. But what I did have was, growing up, spent a lot of time in a hospital because I suffer from sickle cell disease. And then if you saw some of my previous videos, you will know that I have filmed my videos while I was in the hospital having a sickle cell crisis, because I wanted to share that part of my life with you guys. So, it was kind of lonely growing up as a child, because I spent a lot of time in the hospital. The only time I was really around kids was at school. And when I was in a children's hospital, I mean, what could we really do? We can only play but so much. I mean, we're sick. We're too busy trying to get better. So, my childhood was kind of a lonely one. You know, I was isolated a lot. And I was left to my own devices as far as playing is concerned. A lot of times I just spent time in my room by myself and played there, or just wandered off into my imagination, and that's how my imagination grew into the way it is today. And the people that I did keep in contact with children's-wise was only with school. So I really understood why he felt as though he had a very lonely childhood, because I had one too. You know, you spend all that time in the hospital, taking all kinds of medication like morphine, which you can hear on my iTunes, or Demerol, and all the other type of painkillers that go with it. You know, it became really exhausting and very tiring. But in order to get better, that's what you had to go through. And getting those painful injections on a regular basis really, really hurt. But if it was necessary to make me better, I had to take it. But I gotta admit, no child should ever have to go through suffering such a terrible disease when they're young. And so I understand that. I really understand, you know, the loneliness of having no childhood, and the loneliness and pain of having to overcome a disease while you're still a child. And I also liked him because of his views and his thoughts on sexuality. I mean, this was a guy who, it didn't matter if a girl or a guy even came on to him, he wouldn't go to bed with them. He wasn't that type of person. Sex was not a part of his world. You know, it was only a part of his world when he had to be on stage, or eventually when he got married to Lisa Marie and to Debbie Rowe. You know, then of course sex was a factor. But before then, it wasn't an issue with him. Sex was not a big part of his world. And I think, even though he didn't talk about it that much, I think he remained a virgin until he was well into his adulthood. And I openly admit that I kept my virginity well into adulthood as well. I'm not going to say anything else about that, but I will say that, you know, I understood his thoughts and feelings about sex, and that he wanted to give himself to somebody who was really, really special, and a life partner. And I do believe that, and I truly understand that, and I can really see a lot of his thoughts and feelings were actually a lot of my own thoughts and feelings. It wasn't that it was planned that way. It just worked out like that. Like, what could you do, you know? Well, I got another Michael's moment coming up, because I got so much more that I have to say on this, and much, much more on the eve of his anniversary.